It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio today. Brian Klimowski, head meteorologist for the National Weather Service in Belmont. I almost said Flagstaff, but you're not in Flagstaff. You're in Belmont.
We're close enough.
Right. He is the meteorologist in charge up there. So when I call every week, often you're overseeing all those people. How many people do you have working?
And we have 22 there in the office, and It's always good to hear from you, Paul.
And you were understaffed for a little while.
We were. We have 3 new employees who are doing a fantastic job for us and the community.
Okay, so are you all filled back up again?
Almost. We still have 2 vacancies.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, a lot of shifting going on at the National Weather Service. So when I call, I got to the point where I started recognizing everybody's voices, And so, but you still have some of your hardcore standards there. Ben Peterson's there and a few others that I've gotten to know over all these years and stuff like that. So that's really fantastic. For more information, and their website is weather.gov/Flagstaff. That's great to have. I was talking before the show that cell phones come with that AccuWeather. And AccuWeather, I've noticed, is, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, very different than what I see on the National Weather Service website out of Belmont. And you guys, I don't know how you do it, but the other day we had that kind of rain event come through with some hail. Brian's been out of town for a while, so we're throwing him under the rug here today. But it said on my phone, and it was like, I don't know, a minute to 6 p.m. It said the hail and stuff is going to stop at 6 o'clock, and I swear the second hand hit 6 p.m. and the hail that was coming down on my house stopped. And it was done. And then the sky started clearing up and everything else happened. And it was just, so the point I'm getting to is you can go with AccuWeather or you can listen to us because what we're saying is what you deliver to us. But it'd be better off to just go with the National Weather Service in Belmont because the forecast is just so dang accurate. We've talked about it over the years about how difficult it is with all these different terrains and different elevations to deal with. But Brian was saying before the show that they can't have an app because of why?
Non-competitive clause with the private industry, basically. So.
But they do have a widget.
That's
How fun does that sound, a widget? So the widget is NWS widget. If you Google that, you can get that. You can put it on your phone and then click on that, and that's you guys.
Basically serves as an app right on your mobile devices. Okay. You bet. Works great. Great. Try it out.
And if not, Megan Taylor takes care of their Twitter feed up at the Weather Service, and I have that as well.
Yeah, she's our social media focal point. So she takes care of, manages the Twitter feed and our Facebook page, which is actually our most popular social media right now is our Facebook page.
Okay, so beautiful. So on Twitter, though, I've got you on there, and so I know it's coming up. The moment I think, okay, just how hot is it today? How cold is it today? How much rain or snow did we get? Megan or somebody up there has put out some kind of a diagram or some kind of a picture that's got the numbers on it with the forecast and stuff on it. So there's a lot of great ways to get accurate weather other than using the AccuWeather. And I know you can't say that, but I can. So let's move on to what we're going to talk about today. And that was we brought you down to recap winter. Now last year, there was a lot of hype about it was going to be this La Nina winter. It was going to be a big one, and it wound up being exactly the opposite. It almost felt like an El Nino winter, where it was a lot drier than it felt.
Actually, switch those. We were expecting an El Nino, which is the big, heavy, wet last year, and it just really didn't happen. We were on track, I guess this is, a year and a half ago, until January, and then, faucet turned off, warmed up, and it just went from winter to spring. It didn't stop.
Instantly, just like that.
But last year was a different story, or I should say this most recent winter, very different story.
Yeah, this year we were kind of thinking it was leading into a La Nina winter where it wasn't going to be very wet. But and I'll get my El Ninos and my La Ninas right here. But it was the exact opposite of that. I mean, we had some pretty good storms this year.
It was a very significant winter for us, and even more so for the West Coast, of course. My father has property in Santa Cruz, California, and he had over 120 inches of rain this year.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of unheard of, I would think.
10 feet of rain, in like 4 months.
10 feet of rain. Just picture that, 10 feet of rain in 4 months. That is and that's, would I be right to say that's pretty unusual?
That was, to my knowledge, a record amount. Yeah, it was a big year. But we, of course, saw some of that here in Arizona, and our winter was really defined by like a 5-week period starting in mid to late December and ending in late January, to where we had multiple storms, both rain and snow, which brought up about twice as much precipitation as we normally get in that period. Actually, it was the second greatest amount of precipitation ever in Flagstaff between December 21st and January 25th.
Wow, it felt like it.
It was raining and snowing a lot, as we all know. So.
But like you said, it was 5 weeks, so that's to me that seems kind of short-lived. A little short-lived.
Yeah, I mean, that was the most intense period. But you know, I have some graphs here that show pretty regular progression of big storms through Arizona between late November and continuing on even now, actually. You know, we've had, we really haven't had those like month-long breaks except for like early March, you know, to where it got so warm.
Yeah, the first few weeks of March seemed...
Record high temperatures, beautiful. We went again straight from winter to right into spring again.
And that's a dangerous time of year for everybody around here, is that period of time when all of a sudden the temperatures, I think even Cottonwood was up to almost 90 or did hit 90. We've got at least in the upper 70s and the 80s for 3 weeks in a row. And then Flagstaff is in the 50s and the 60s and even hitting the 70s as well. My wife went out and had her toes done, and I said, it's too early for that. Winter's not over just yet. Yeah. We're bound to get hit again.
Well, and we also have the potential for a lot of high water. And of course, in late February, we did have that fatality at a low water crossing.
Right. We actually had several rescues in that same area this winter alone. Matter of fact, I think the majority of them were in that. We did have that fatality.
Yeah, so you know, you can't... winter weather is more than just snow and winter weather driving. It's also, you know, what happens when that snow melts and we get rain on snow and we have the flooding in the lower elevations. So,
I remember this winter we had it seemed like it was a 1 solid week period where it snowed just about every day, and it came down really hard. I've said this before too on the show and with you here as well, that I'm always amazed at how there's nothing on the ground. I'll go to bed and wake up the next morning and there's a foot or more on the ground already. So it seems almost the normal around here that it's like an inch an hour. Is that accurate?
That's pretty typical, for you know, for a major front that comes through to get that inch an hour. The big snowstorm you're talking about there in mid to late January dropped almost 40 inches of snow in Flagstaff. It was our 10th greatest snowfall in history.
It's amazing. It was amazing. And then the last storm that came through, not these smaller ones that we're seeing like we've got coming through most recently, but there was supposed to be, I want to say the week before last, where it rolled in, and I got up the next morning, went into work, and it had been snowing all night. And it wasn't just a couple of inches like was expected. I think I had 6 inches outside. And I was like, ooh, this is a little unusual. And when I got to work and I pulled up the National Weather Service website, there was this purple circle right over the top of Flagstaff in the outer areas. And it was a very strange thing. And I believe it was Ben Peterson I spoke to. It was Ben that I talked to that morning. And he said, yeah, it was a weird one.
It was a weird one. You know, the front was supposed to sweep right through the Flagstaff area. We're anticipating maybe 1 to 4 inches, maybe a little bit more. But as soon as the front got over Flagstaff, it slowed up just enough that some locations, like in Belmont, we had 14 inches of snow.
Impressive.
Out of that one. Yeah.
That's impressive.
No, that's very impressive.
So, is it the mountain? Does the San Francisco peaks actually grab those clouds and just make them stop?
Well, it doesn't make them stop, but it does grab those clouds and squeeze every bit of moisture out that it can.
It's impressive.
So,
it's amazing.
A lot of local effects.
We're going to take our first break, okay? Website again is weather.gov/Flagstaff. Brian Klimowski in studio today. He's the National Weather Service meteorologist in charge. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child swallowed household cleaner, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first to speak with medical professionals who can give you free personal advice anytime. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life.
Hello, I'm Jen Cohen, host of Verde Valley TV's hit TV show, The Verde Valley Experience. On each episode, we feature local organizations, nonprofits, persons of interest, events, activities, and great local musicians. It's informative, it's entertaining, it's fun. It's the Verde Valley Experience.
We meet online, and I tell you, I'm falling in love. I have to see you in person, but I need a loan for the ticket. I really think you're the one. And I really think you're desperate. Sure enough, you sent cash and never see me again. Too smart to fall for this? Last year alone, 12 million Americans lost money this way. Can you believe it? You shouldn't. I made that up, too. Might not be as smart as you thought you were.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking with the National Weather Service today. Brian Klimowski in studio today. Again, their widget is just Google NWS widget, and then their website weather.gov/Flagstaff. So we've got winter. You said we've just about reached our normal.
That's right. As far as snowfall in the area, we're right at normal, about 90 inches right now. Fully expecting we'll be up to 100 by the end of the year, which is the average for Flagstaff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that I guess we could have that until this next winter hits too, to hit that 100 inches. I hadn't thought about that before, but I was picturing it was, okay, this winter season was 100 inches, but it's not. It's, okay, what we got so far this year plus.
Well, this year, October 1st, basically. Okay. Or, through the cold season.
Through the cold season, yeah. Okay. And then rain is above average for most everybody.
That's right.
And you mentioned while we were off camera there during the break that the drought situation of the state is looking better all over.
It's largely alleviated right now for northern Arizona, for the first time in years. Interesting. Flagstaff has recorded, Justin Jandro came up with this fact, over 20 inches every year the past 4 years or 5 years. First time that's happened since the 1990s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've had a good amount of rain every year for the past 4 or 5 years.
Incredible. Yeah, we'd have those snowstorms and then it would rain.
Yep.
And change all of that. And that's what
we've had good monsoons, too. Good, strong monsoons past couple
last
years.
year was a very wet year. I remember we had the dry February, but then March and April and May, and it just always was water. We didn't have a lot of big wildfires last year. Over by Show Low, I think, was the biggest one we had last year.
Yep, the Cedar.
But the rest of the time, everybody else was doing pretty good. And we had a lot of management burns happen last year because of the lightning and stuff like that. Okay, here we are in the spring. Today, there's a wind advisory till 11 p.m.
That's right.
45, 55 mile an hour wind gusts, especially in the higher elevations along the I-40 corridor over Little Colorado River Valley. So pretty common.
It is. Spring is our wind season here. The storm track pulls a little bit farther north, and it leaves us on the southern side of these storms, which brings all the wind. And we're at high elevation, we have mountains, and that just drives the wind to the surface. So it can be dangerous. We actually have a high wind warning in parts of northern Arizona, which means we're expecting winds over 60 miles an hour in parts of the state. So be careful, especially if you're driving those high-profile vehicles.
Yeah, okay. So, and we can expect that to continue, through at least April? The wind?
April, early May is our wind season.
And then after that happens, and then spring, I guess, we're getting these little shots of moisture here and there. Hopefully that'll continue.
I hope.
Hopefully it'll continue through May, because I think May is the hottest, usually driest month. Is that right?
June for us.
June?
Yeah.
Okay, so May is also a very usually dry month, though, isn't it?
May is, windy, dry, but then the heat really starts to stoke up in June, which brings other concerns.
Okay, alrighty. So that kind of wraps up spring. Spring is pretty normal. Almost in Arizona, it seems like when winter shuts off, summer starts. But I'm feeling we do have a little bit of spring because we've had some warm weather. It's cooling off a little bit. It's going to warm up again. Get Easter coming up in April. So, I think it's going to go up and down. Hopefully it continues to do this because we need the help for the wildfire season.
That's right.
And maybe we should jump into that next because spring is kind of basic. But I was telling you that we've already had a few wildfires already. One may have been intentionally set up behind the water plant there in Flagstaff. But there was a tree on fire. They've had a couple hundred acres burn. I think it was out on Highway 89 north of Flagstaff. And then there was a fire out on 180 as well. So we've already started to see that. There was also a report over this last weekend in Wilhoit. A truck pulling a horse trailer had a chain dragging. Sparks flied off, got into the brush, and boom. And even though we've had moisture, it doesn't take long. And now we've got the winds. Yeah. And the winds dry those grasses out.
That's right. I mean, no matter how wet our winters are, we always have a fire season here in Arizona. It is hot and dry in June. The forests will always dry out. And, it's just something we can't lose our perspective on. But when we have a wet winter, we kind of have a different issue in that at the lower elevations, after all the wildflowers bloom and the grasses grow long, they dry out fast. And we often have an early fire season at the lower elevations with all these very fine fuels that get very dry very early. We must be careful of that.
One thing I've noticed about plant life is it gets through its cycle quick here. Yeah. It doesn't lollygag. It grows, it does its thing, and then it dies and dries out. And it happens within, I want to say, like a couple of weeks. It goes so fast. So you guys thinking a typical summer for us? What's the prediction? I know it's way out there, and we can't be too accurate with something that is that far out. I mean, you guys typically like to go about 3 days out, and that's when I give out the forecast too. I do a 7-day forecast as well, but we want the folks to understand that 3 days out, you guys are pretty much pinpoint on that. But after 3 days, things can change.
And then a couple months out, things can change even more.
A couple months, even more.
But,
right.
Right now there aren't any strong signals one way or the other as far as the summer is concerned. Sometimes if we have a very wet winter and spring, that might lead to a delay of the onset of the monsoon. If it's been very dry, sometimes I'll bring the monsoon in a bit early. Right now we don't have enough information to make that determination, except there are a couple things I can tell you.
Okay.
June will be hot and dry. We will have a fire season, and that transition between our dry June and the monsoon is typically our most dangerous part of the season, and it's where we have to staff up for a lot of high-impact events because we have the start of the monsoon with the dry lightning, which intersects with our fire season, and that can be deadly. So very busy around the 1st of July.
Let me ask you this. I know firefighters, fire crews, we've even had a little thing on Wednesday. I shouldn't say a little thing, but several of the agencies around here got together and kind of did some practice wildfire training up in, I want to say the Red Crossing area up near Sedona. They had 3 acres and they were just kind of teaching everybody, refreshing themselves about, okay, here's how we deal with these kind of fires. Is the Weather Service, does it do training as well? Because I know you guys are very key when there's a wildfire going on. You guys are a key part of that picture.
Yeah, we have lots of training. We have 2 or 3 meteorologists in the office that are specifically trained to serve at the front lines of major fires. They're called our incident meteorologists. We also send out meteorologists to, for example, the dispatch centers for the counties to monitor that transition between the fire and the monsoon seasons to help relay information in the most current weather forecasts. Yes, we are specifically trained to be in that place to provide the information that those managing the fires need.
All right. Brian Klimowski in studio today with the National Weather Service and meteorologist in charge there. Website again is weather.gov/Flagstaff. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars. Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child swallowed household cleaner, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first to speak with medical professionals who can give you free personal advice anytime. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life.
Hello, I'm Jen Cohen, host of Verde Valley TV's hit TV show, The Verde Valley Experience. On each episode, we feature local organizations, nonprofits, persons of interest, events, activities, and great local musicians. It's informative, it's entertaining, it's fun. It's the Verde Valley Experience.
We meet online, and I tell you, I'm falling in love. I have to see you in person, but I need a loan for the ticket. I really think you're the one. And I really think you're desperate. Sure enough, you sent cash and never see me again. Too smart to fall for this? Last year alone, 12 million Americans lost money this way. Can you believe it? You shouldn't. I made that up, too. Might not be as smart as you thought you were.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a couple minutes left in the program. Again, the website is weather.gov/Flagstaff. If you want, it's not an app, but it's a widget. But if you want that on your phone, it's NWS widget. Just Google that, and you just click on that afterwards.
It'll come right up, yeah. And there's instructions on just how to install it on your phone.
And you said one part of it's not working quite right, but it's being worked on.
It is. It is. It's nice. We all have it on our mobile devices and phones.
Let me ask you this in the last couple minutes. What if June were to be a wet and cool month? What would that affect our monsoon? How would that affect
Interesting. I would say it would probably delay it a bit. See, the formation of the monsoon depends on it being hot and dry and forming low pressure over the Four Corners areas. That hot and dry, period we have in June that kind of brings low pressure, and that low pressure then sucks the moisture in, from the south and southeast. So if it's not hot enough and not dry enough, then that low pressure might not, quite form soon enough. So.
Yeah, I've always said if you want the monsoon on time, which for us is right around the 4th of July. You have to have that real hot too, the triple digits, and
it's interesting how how we see that time and time again. That last really hot week in June or early July, it's almost always followed by the onset of the monsoon.
So I'm picturing the next time I have you in, we have a week where it's Monsoon Awareness Week.
Yes.
And that's in June?
That's in June every year.
Towards the end of June?
Mid-June.
Mid-June. So I'm picturing having you in again mid-June to have you come in and talk about, I believe there's 5 areas we talk about.
That's right.
With Monsoon Awareness Week. So we'll have you come in and we'll hit those 5 and remind people again, because we had a flooding death over the winter. Last summer we had someone struck by lightning up on the mountain. A 17-year-old girl, I believe it was hit by lightning. So we have to have you come in and talk again. Brian Klimowski, thank you for coming in. Meteorologist in charge for the National Weather Service in Belmont. That's today's Countywide. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.